Hello, I'm Lisa, Managing Director of Pharmacy Insurance, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, where I will be providing an overview of NPA insurance and the work that we do to support our members. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat throughout the webinar, and I'll answer as many as possible at the end of the session. Okay then, so welcome again to our webinar. A little bit about me first of all. I'm a medical negligence lawyer by profession and joined NPA over 20 years ago after working in private practice in London to deal with the negligence claims in-house for NPA insurance. I handled the claims for about 14 years and worked up to be the head of the legal team before being promoted to Chief Operating Officer and MD of Pharmacy Insurance back in 2018. And I try and get out to visit as many of our members as possible throughout the year and regularly speak at member events across the UK to ensure that our pharmacy insurance is really attuned to the needs of our members. So hopefully I'll see you all in person at some point in the future. So a bit of a history lesson next. NPA insurance was formerly known as the Chemist Defence Association and was actually predates the NPA. It was formed in 1899 and was set up by a group of pharmacists in response to an increase in dispensing error claims and the need for specialist legal support. Fast forward 126 years, and NPA insurance is still providing indemnity for pharmacists who face claims for damages and need legal defence. And we also provide insurance for locums and technicians and general insurance cover for your pharmacy premises, warehouses, and numerous other covers. One of our key benefits for members who take out our pharmacy premises insurance, which is called Pharma Cover, is that you can get the 6th year of your insurance free if you have 5 claim-free years. So we're very proud to be a one-stop shop for all of your pharmacy insurance needs. Whilst we are the largest provider of indemnity insurance to the pharmacy sector, we do have competitors. So what sets us apart? Firstly, we are unique in that we have an award-winning in-house legal team, which means no delays in getting help. When you call, you will speak to a qualified expert lawyer immediately and start getting the assistance you need, and the lawyer will be dedicated to you throughout the claim or whatever situation you need help with. It's really difficult to explain to our members this benefit, but in the event a mistake occurs, it will often be the worst professional day of a pharmacist's career. So having someone at the end of the phone ready to support and provide advice is truly invaluable. The legal team are all medical negligence specialists and have decades of pharmacy experience between them. 2 of the team actually worked in a pharmacy whilst they were studying for their law degrees, so really do understand what it's like to work in a dispensary. In addition to claims and legal defence, the team also provides specialist legal advice and support on anything connected to pharmacy business, from drafting letters of apology to advising on the latest developments in pharmacy, such as hub and spoke, supervision changes, and even the use of AI in pharmacy. Pharmacy cases can be very complex, and sometimes with other insurance providers, there can be a delay whilst specialist legal support is found. So it is really important that you've got access straight into a qualified lawyer. Members are often surprised to learn that we are an insurance company and the underwriter. We're not a broker. This means that along with paying out claims directly, we make the decisions on cover and the limits of indemnity. We can also make those decisions very quickly, as we do not have the same levels of bureaucracy. An example of this is that we're aware of other providers whose underwriter has reduced the levels of indemnity to just £100,000 for claims relating to opioids or medicines subject to abuse, and also charge additionally for private PGDs such as weight loss. We work very closely with the NHS, GPHC, Department of Health and other key stakeholders and continuously evolve and enhance our indemnity cover so it is ready in advance of any changes to services or legislation. And wherever possible, these enhancements are rolled in at no extra charge. Because we're a small insurer, we are very agile and able to evolve our cover in line with pharmacy as it moves into an ever more clinical sphere, whether it's Botox, weight loss prescribing, or innovative new services. Our cover is also offered on a claims occurring basis, which is very unusual in the market, and it gives you peace of mind even if a claim is brought years or decades later, which is particularly important if you're thinking of retiring or selling your business. In addition to winning Claims Team of the Year, we recently won Specialist Insurer of the Year at the National Insurance Awards, fighting off stiff competition from large corporate insurers. The judges praised our entry and were particularly impressed with our in-house team and the instant help that we're able to provide, together with our dynamic underwriting approach and expertise. We were able to demonstrate how our cover evolves in advance of changes and the fact that we can often offer solutions in hours rather than months. We've had members returning to us with reports that they had to wait 3 days for their broker to find a lawyer, and another wasn't covered for a fitness to practice matter and had to pay out thousands of pounds. So it just goes to show that it's really important that we are the pharmacy underwriting experts and can make these decisions quickly. So as I'm sure you're all aware, it's a condition of your registration with the GPHC that you have appropriate indemnity cover to ensure that patients can receive compensation in the event of a negligent act. In the event of a negligent act, for example, a dispensing error, pharmacists can face 4 separate jeopardies from just one single event. Firstly, criminal prosecutions. And whilst these are very rare, pharmacists can still face the threat of a criminal prosecution from following a dispensing error. For example, under the Misuse of Drugs Act, if a controlled drug is dispensed in error. And up until 2017, pharmacists could also be prosecuted under Section 64 of the Medicines Act for a dispensing error, but the legislation has been changed to bring pharmacy into line with other healthcare professionals, for example, like doctors. And it now means that the CPS should not prosecute for dispensing errors, apart from the most exceptional cases where recklessness is at the heart of the error. And pharmacists can also face fatal investigations, civil claims for compensation, and regulatory investigations, for example, by the GPHC. Our policy extends to all staff engaged or employed by our policyholder. This includes locum pharmacists. We're also able to cover non-pharmacist healthcare professionals such as nurses who might help you with offering a travel clinic, for example. But we do ask that you contact the team first to check and also to see if the policy needs endorsing if you're employing non-pharmacist staff, non-qualified pharmacist staff. So having heard all about the jeopardies that pharmacists can face from just one dispensing error, you'll be pleased to note that all 4 are covered by our professional indemnity and legal defence policy. We also cover public liability claims, for example, if somebody falls over in your pharmacy, product liability claims, and an example would be a hot water bottle that you've sold that bursts and causes injury. And as I've just mentioned, we also cover fatal and regulatory investigations. And this slide just provides a little bit more information on those additional covers. As a pharmacy insurer, we really are alive to the financial challenges being faced by community pharmacy at the moment, together with the more clinical frontline services being undertaken. At the end of 2023, we undertook a full review of the indemnity policy in readiness for Pharmacy First coming in England. We included Pharmacy First for no extra charge, and to free up pharmacists to carry out more consultations, we enhanced our cover to include all vaccinations, including COVID, travel and flu, by pharmacists and non-qualified staff for no extra charge. We also reviewed our enhanced services and widened our private PGDs and now cover a true A to Z of PGDs, from allergy testing through to medicinal cannabis to weight loss, all for no extra charge. We've also broadened cover on our chargeable products, including cryotherapy, ear care, Botox and aesthetics, and all of these chargeable covers still have access into our award-winning expert legal team in the event that you need support. We've been covering pharmacist prescribers for decades and have been working with NHS England since the outset to cover the Independent Prescribing Pathfinder pilot. We no longer charge for prescribers who are acting as designated prescribing practitioners, and this is to support the future of pharmacy with a new cohort of pharmacists which will come out of university with a prescribing qualification. We're working on developing new solutions for hub and spoke, and we'll be covering technicians as they take on more responsibility if the proposed supervision changes come into force as anticipated. We've contributed to knowledge articles on both of these topics, which can be found later on in the slides. The next two tables just provide a little bit more detail on our limits of indemnity, and you'll see from the slides that we even cover lost keys and don't charge excesses or admin charges. In this section of the webinar, I'd like to provide some practical examples of what happens when policyholders need to use our indemnity cover. There are over 1 billion items dispensed each year, yet on average we receive under 1,000 claims per annum, which just goes to show what a safe pair of hands pharmacists are. However, medicines are inherently unsafe and mistakes do happen. There are numerous types of professional mistakes that a pharmacist can make, from dispensing the wrong drug to providing incorrect clinical advice. The pharmacy services team act as the medicine safety officer for all pharmacies that have under 50 branches, and they compile quarterly safety incident reports. In the last few years, 55% of all reported errors were drug errors, and 25% of those were in the wrong drug category. Diving slightly deeper into the most common look-alike and sound-alike errors, they occur with amitriptyline and amlodipine, and this has been the case for many years, and our legal team deal with claims for this error on a regular basis. So with this in mind, how can you prevent errors occurring? The best way is to have up-to-date standard operating procedures and ensure that your staff review them regularly. They shouldn't just gather dust on a shelf and should be updated in the event of an incident, even if it is just a simple interaction, like putting a warning card on the shelf between amlodipine and amitriptyline. NPA has excellent resources in the new Patient Safety Hub that pharmacies can tailor and help to prevent errors occurring. A few are listed on the slide, together with a link to the hub that has a wealth of information. Further risk mitigation materials that can be found about independent prescribing, and it is an area that we are seeing an increase in incidents relating to not making contemporaneous records of consultations or not properly safety netting and safeguarding the patient and advising them to seek treatment if symptoms don't improve, for example. It's very difficult to defend a claim if there are no notes of the consultation, and it can leave the pharmacist quite exposed and in a situation where it's the patient's word against the pharmacist. I'd really recommend downloading the consultation checklists and record-keeping templates that are in this on the link above, and use them in your pharmacy wherever you can. It's also not just for prescribing. You can always make a note of any conversation or interaction with a patient on pharma outcomes or whatever relevant system is being used. But do just keep a note if you advise the patient to go and see the GP if symptoms don't improve, for example, or if you've signposted them to treatment elsewhere. We also help provide legal updates and practice information, and there are numerous information on the hub which is changing all the time. This is just a selection, and you can see that there are articles on supplying medication at a distance, weight loss, and automated checking. We've also provided recent additions on the hub, and we've included updates to weight loss medication following Manjaro's price increase, and also included information following the NICE guidelines. There's an update in one of the links on the proposed changes to pharmacy supervision, which is due to come into force towards the end of the year. And to support the implementation, as you know, the GPHC are going to support, develop and introduce new regulatory standards. And as soon as these are published, we'll also update the hub accordingly. For this last stage of the webinar, I'd like to talk about the complex case which I dealt with whilst working in the legal team. And the case encompassed each of the 4 jeopardies which a pharmacist can face, which I discussed earlier. The case related to an amitriptyline and amlodipine dispensing error, and the patient was prescribed amitriptyline 10 milligrams for pain relief, with instructions to take 1 tablet at night following a diagnosis of shingles. Unfortunately, and in error, amlodipine 10 milligrams was dispensed. The patient took tablets for 2 days, and because she didn't have any pain relief, phoned her doctor, who agreed to increase the dose to taking 3 tablets at night. Despite the advice, the patient was also self-administering extra tablets. The patient had a complex medical history and was already taking another calcium channel blocker and other medications. The patient collapsed and was admitted to hospital with severe hypertension and acute renal failure. And very sadly, the patient died of multi-organ failure about 11 days after the error. The first notification we received into the legal team was a telephone call to say that the police were in attendance and wanted to question the pharmacist. As part of the investigation, the police requested full disclosure of SOPs, and we were able to establish that the branch had excellent, well-drafted SOPs in place. At the time of the incident, there was no defence to Section 64 of the Medicines Act, which in extreme situations meant that a pharmacist could face criminal charges for dispensing errors. Despite our challenges, the police informed us that they were referring to the CPS and considering a charge of gross negligence manslaughter, which if found guilty, the pharmacist could face a custodial sentence. Due to the severity of the situation, we instructed a QC barrister and liaised with the police and the CPS specialist unit, and we were able to establish that this situation did not meet the very high bar or legal test for a charge of gross negligence manslaughter, and also pointed the CPS to the upcoming changes in legislation which were going to be coming into the Medicine Act. Unfortunately, the CPS decided not to press charges. In these cases, criminal investigations always take priority, so the coroner initially opened an inquest and then adjourned until the conclusion of the criminal investigation. When the inquest reopened, the coroner did not make a prevention of future deaths order, mostly due to the excellent SOPs that the pharmacy had in place, but did give a finding of neglect. The final part of the claim was a traditional claim for compensation, which was brought on behalf of the family, and the pain included pain and suffering whilst the patient was alive, and also standard bereavement damages. Once the civil claim was settled, the GPHC had a hearing to determine the pharmacist's fitness to practice, and the pharmacist was issued with a written warning. This was a truly tragic case and one of the most complex cases I dealt with during my time as a legal advisor in the legal team. And I hope it goes some way to demonstrate how the most innocuous dispensing errors can have really grave effects. But due to our expertise, we were able to assist from the very first call, and we supported the pharmacist to the conclusion of the matter and was able to avoid both criminal and serious regulatory outcomes. I hope this presentation has given you some insight into the work that we do in the insurance company and the access that you have as members to expert legal assistance when you need it, together with the breadth of cover our indemnity policy provides. We really pride ourselves in offering a personal service and going the extra mile to support you all. And if you need to contact any member of the legal team, our contact details are all on the website and mine are at the end of the presentation. So we now have a couple of minutes, and I can have a look to see if any questions have been put in the chat. And do feel free to add any if you want to now. Okay, so the first question that's in the chat is, what new area of practice most concerns me from an indemnity perspective? And I think With the announcement of the NHS 10-year plan and the intention for community pharmacy to carry out more and more clinical services, one of the emerging areas of risk I can foresee is more failure to refer or misdiagnosis cases. As I mentioned earlier, we do have incidents where patients are allegedly not advised to go to A&E if their symptoms get worse, or a detailed clinical record isn't taken. And it then becomes a situation of a pharmacist's word against the patients, and makes it very difficult to defend. A pharmacist would always say that, in their professional practice, they would refer, but if there's no note, as I said, it's very difficult to establish that. So I would stress the importance of taking contemporaneous notes whenever you have interactions, even if it's a telephone call through from 111 or a more complex pharmacy first referral where you can't give out medication through the pharmacy first scheme. And as I said earlier, there are template links above in the slides. Okay. Just wait another couple of minutes if there's any more questions. Okay, the second question is, do we cover all areas of prescribing? And the answer is that our criteria for covering prescribing is very much based on ensuring that the prescriber is able to demonstrate that they are competent in the clinical area that they're prescribing in. For example, weight loss. We no longer ask pharmacist prescribers to specify each area of competence that they're working within. And this is very much the approach that the regulator would also take in the event of a fitness to practice investigation. At the Independent Prescribing Hub has brilliant resources. There are actually guides on there about assessing competence, which is very helpful. Okay, well, we've now run out of time, so if there are any other questions that are left on the chat, I'll answer them separately and I'll get back to you directly. But I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you all for attending and hope that you found the information useful.